What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Overtime Sports Show, episode number 11, coming to you live on this fine Tuesday evening. My name is Greg Gross, my partner in crime for the next hour and a half or so, Dan O'Brien. Dan, what's good, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. We got a great show, got a fired up show to start it up. What you guys are going to see here in just a little bit. You know, we had some controversy over the weekend. I'm sure some people know what that's about. If they don't, they're going to be enlightened here in just a little bit. So just ready to rock and roll and you know, letting the good times roll, as they would say.
Love it. I want to hear all about it. I'm excited to know what you're fired up about. We didn't rehearse this. We didn't really talk much. I have a rough idea, but I want to hear all about it. So the floor is yours, my man. Take it away. Let me know what's on your mind. I want to hear it.
Well, first, you know what's on my mind is an old hat.
All right.
And check this bad boy out. You know exactly what that means.
Oof. All right. Representing.
Yeah.
I like that. That's for all the FSU fans out there. They did a little dirty this weekend. Our hearts pour out for them. Those poor folks, the poor fans, the poor players. We'll definitely get into that. But I like that hat. That's a good color.
Oh yeah. So that's going to be my main focal point. But I just wanted to start us off and let our friend Booger McFarland give us a little 1, 2, 3, and then our old friend, an old lovely coach of ours. So I'm going to pop a video on and we're going to go from there.
I'm going to completely disagree with you. To me, this is a travesty to the sport. Because we go out there on the field and we play the game. And regardless of whether it looks good at the quarterback position, regardless of whether we win with offense, whether we win with defense, the name of the game is to win. And that's a reason never before has this not been done. Winning a Power 5 conference, going undefeated, and not getting into the playoff. So I understand we want to look at style points and who are we going to get for the best matchups. But that's not what this is about. This is about understanding to get the 4 best teams. One team has a loss. And that's Alabama. One team doesn't in Florida State. And the fact that this committee could take a Power 5 conference champion that's undefeated, those kids have went out there and busted their behind and not get into the playoff based on the eye test. Mind you, this is the same Alabama team who needed a prayer in Jordan Hare to beat an Auburn team that lost to New Mexico State. So that's really what has me bothered right now.
Reese, can you deliver the strength of record, strength of schedule thing? Because you're making it sound as if Alabama played nobody.
Go
ahead.
Yes, you are, because they're in the top 5 in strength of schedule.
Yes.
Florida State's 55th. I totally get what you're saying. It's absolutely heartbreaking and devastating for them. The ACC has a winning record against the SEC this year, 6-4. 2 non-conference games for Florida State this year against the SEC, and they won both of them. I get it.
So that's one of my arguments that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to let it go a little bit more, and you could kind of see some arguments coming in. And here's just one more classic for you.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
Good old Herm. Love it.
Good old Coach Herman. Classic stuff. So I just want to go off what Booger was saying. I mean, this is the first time that Power 5 conference has went undefeated and been left out of the playoffs. So I've been talking with some Florida State fans that I know and some friends of mine, and it's like, why even play the season if you're going to go undefeated, you're going to win your ACC championship game, and everything is in your way. You did everything you're supposed to do, and yet on Selection Sunday, they decide to pick Texas and Alabama. I mean, I get what Reese Davis was saying and what Joey Galloway was saying, that Alabama had a better strength of schedule, but at the end of the day, 0 losses to 1 loss. And it really just sucks that one meaningless game against North Alabama, Jordan Travis is scrambling on a 2nd and 10, 2nd and 5, and all of a sudden he just leaks out and breaks his leg, and then that's going to cost him a shot at the playoffs after being 11-0, 12-0, 13-0, playing every single game to the best of their ability, and they have seniors. Not to even mention that they have a top 5, maybe even a top 2 defense. They're going to have the top 5 pick, Jared Verse. They have a player, Deloach, who's a really good player, and really just irritated me to see that on Sunday because, like I said, I don't mean to repeat myself, but undefeated, and you do what you can do, and they're going to take Texas and Alabama over you. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense to me, and I mean, I wish it was next year, because next year there's going to be a 12-team playoff, which we've mentioned before. So, next year there wouldn't be this whole hoopla, but it just doesn't make any sense. And I mean, I'm a Florida State fan, but I could imagine if there was my Irish, oh man, it'd be a whole different story. It'd be horrible. So
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. On the one hand, I kind of try to look at it from an unbiased lens, because I really don't have a dog in the fight. Pretty neutral. I don't have any strong allegiance to really any college team. I'll tell you what, I actually feel for the selection committee in this instance. It's not an easy task. I'm sure they're trying to do the right thing and look at it from an unbiased perspective as well. And you brought up something that I wanted to touch on just for a moment too, the fact that they're expanding the playoff next year, which I think is the right thing to do. I think it's a long time coming, but I'll tell you, next year when they go to 12, I think we're going to end up in the same situation where whoever's 13 is probably going to feel slighted. There's always that team, that person. I'm a poker guy, as you know. I play in a lot of tournaments, and there's, in a tournament when there's 10 places that pay, the 11th guy is quote unquote on the bubble, and you hate to be the one that misses out and doesn't get paid or doesn't win. But that's just the fact of being in a league and playing. To quote Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. You play to rise in the standings. And I know what you're going to say. FSU was undefeated. I agree. In that instance, I agree. And I feel like there needs to be more and maybe better criteria for determining the overall order of things, the standings. Take out the strength of schedule, the stuff that's really open for interpretation, really, is what it comes down to. And like I said, I think that's why I feel for the selection committee. It's not an easy job, no matter who you pick. There's always going to be an argument to bring in the other team, and someone's going to be unhappy. So it's sort of a no-win situation. I think it's heartbreaking for FSU because, like you said, they did nothing wrong. And I heard an interesting quote from their quarterback. His name escapes me now, of course.
Jordan Travis.
Yeah. So he said he wishes that he would have broke his leg or whatever it was earlier in the season, week 2 or 3, so that the world could have seen the rest of the team for much longer. And the fact that, despite what he said, that maybe the offense and the team doesn't go through him, which is a fair point as well, because you have to feel for the rest of the FSU players outside of Travis. They didn't get their fair share to show the world what they're really made of and what they could have done, maybe rising to the occasion in the absence of their star quarterback. So it just sucks overall. It's really a no-win situation. But next year, between you and me, I think we're kidding ourselves if we think that this new 12-team format is just going to solve everything and that these conversations are not going to happen anymore, because I think no matter what happens, somebody's always going to feel left out. It's my thing.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but there's going to be more competition for it next year, because there's going to be 12 teams instead of 4, obviously, strength in numbers. And, just going off of what you said, there's going to be a team that's left out, but not really, because the team that's going to be left out is going to have, multiple losses, 3 losses or 2 losses. So it's going to be debatable, but it's going to get a lot easier than not have to go by just strength of schedule or eye test. I mean,
yeah, but that's my thing. Don't you think next year when there's going to be, like you said, it's going to be deeper, that 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever it is, those teams are going to have multiple losses. But that's what I'm saying. It's going to be the same scenario because right now we're fighting over teams that either had 0 losses or maybe 1 loss based and strength of schedule comes into play. Next year, it's going to be, okay, there's 2 spots left and there's 4 teams that have 2 losses. It's just, you're just pushing it back a little, instead of 0 losses or 1 loss, now you're competing with teams that have 2 or 3 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't see how it changes too much other than the loss column.
It's just going to broaden it. It's like I said, it's going to go from 4 to 12, obviously. And I know what you're saying, but I think it's going to level the playing field a little bit because it's going to be. So what it's going to be, I don't know if you saw the format. So if the format was this year, the top 4 teams would do a bye, and then it would be, 5v12, 6v11, so on and so forth. So it's going to expand it, and then there's going to be teams like we had Chris Dolan on. He's a UCF alumni. He wanted me to mention that this happened with the UCF team back in 2018-17. They went undefeated, and the reason why they didn't get into it is because they're not in a quote-unquote Power 5 conference. So if this day and age was happening back then they'd be able to be into it because it's going to expand it to just not 4 teams out of the Power 5. It's going to be 12 teams, Power 5, non-Power 5. So I think it's going to be great for the sport. I think it's going to be very similar to March Madness, not as big, but just with the competition level, the no-name schools popping out there. I think it's going to be great. And I wanted to touch on your other question that you were mentioning about the criteria. There actually was a criteria, and the selection committee, they didn't follow it because, like I said, this is the first time a Power 5 conference did not make the playoff that was undefeated. So for whatever reason, they went through the eye test. They looked at their game against Florida State's game against Florida, and Florida State's game against Louisville, and said, this is not a top 4 team, which is debatable. I mean, they were the top 4 team, but they were saying that they're not one of the best 4 in the nation. And I believe that's why ultimately they didn't get selected, which, can go either way. But as I mentioned, they got a top 5 defense. They had a top 5 offense. And I think that, they could have really played Michigan well, or they could have played any other team well. And not to mention Michigan. Look at Michigan getting in there. I mean, look what their scumbag coach did. I mean, he was cheating. He got suspended. I mean, who knows how many wins they gained from that? You know what I mean? So that's nobody's looking at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope this changes things next year. I guess we'll know when the time comes. I'm just, I guess, still a little skeptical. I feel like you raised a good point too, about, March Madness and whatnot. I think it's very similar to that. If you keep me honest, but the tournament is 64 teams. And I think a couple of years ago, they expanded it to 68 or something like that to have a little play-in round or something, right? There's 4 extra teams that get to fight. So it's almost like where does it end, right? I mean, the same thing with a lot of the major sports now. I couldn't believe the NHL followed suit, but they do. They instituted the wild card in the playoffs a couple of years ago. Baseball's doing that now. Of course, the NFL's done it for a long time. But speaking in the NHL, I just liked when it was the top 8 in each conference get in. And going back to criteria, it's really laid out. And they go multiple levels deep to ensure that nearly all of the potential circumstances, the wild ones that you would never think could actually play out, where there's multiple tiers of tiebreakers, they account for those. If you look on their site, all the leagues are like this. They have, 1A, 1B, 1C, different levels to determine who actually gets in. And I really think the NCAA needs that because, again, just like I mentioned before, where does it end? We have March Madness, 64 teams, an additional 4 today or this year. Next year, what are we going to make it 8 additional teams? And then before you know it, it's just, to your point, we play to win the games. We play to win to seed us in standings. There's different tiebreakers. Otherwise, the regular season in all sports is just going to become a moot point. Why even have it if you're just going to always do this expanding, never-ending round robin wild card playoff stuff? Just don't even have a season. Just start out with playoffs and then go right into it. It's just, I think it's devaluing the regular season, and there needs to be stricter rules and tiebreakers on who gets in. Cause I don't know. It's an interesting discussion point, I guess. But I'd rather have it be sort of cut and dry, just make it, here are the rules and that's it. Take out everybody's loose interpretation. You take out, at that point, you take out feelings from the equation, and nobody can say somebody was playing favorites and things like that. Cause that's all you hear nowadays, right? Is, the selection committee's biased and, it's all about ratings and money. People are obviously saying that's a big reason why Alabama got in, which it's hard to say that didn't factor in when you have a selection committee who's literally deciding rather than here's the criteria. This team got in for this reason. This team didn't. I think it should be cut and dry, but that's me, man. I've always been a black and white guy, and I'm probably oversimplifying, but I don't know.
But you know what they always say, money talks. And if they're going to keep getting money to watch these playoff games, they're going to keep expanding it. I mean, that's end of the day, we always say, we don't want to say it because we're black and white, but sports is a business. So if they want to keep making money, they're going to keep expanding it. And I mean, people watch playoff games more than they watch regular season games. I mean, it's cut and dry. So the competition's up, you're playing for a championship. So it really just, it's a catch-22 because I'm the same as you. It's going to devalue a regular season, but then the ratings show it. Playoff games kill it. So,
yeah. So, I mean, a lot to unpack there. Like I said, I feel for the selection committee, but what's done is done. We know the matchups now, so probably worth talking about them a little bit. We got a couple weeks now before the games actually play, but I guess initial reactions to me, the Michigan Alabama one.
That's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I mean, it's say what you want. I think even FSU fans, they're going to feel slighted and jaded for a long time, if not ever. They're always going to play the what could have been card, but just even I think they would have to agree that this matchup between Michigan and Alabama is everything a college football fan wants to see. Even a novice college football fan, a casual fan. I put myself in that category. As I said, I don't have a big allegiance to any particular college team. So me just looking at it sort of outside in, I'm thrilled to see that matchup. I'm super excited. We talked about it last week. I didn't think Alabama was going to beat Georgia. I figured it would be close, which it was, but I thought Georgia was going to pull it out. And the fact that they didn't is why we're here. And Michigan.
I did call that game too, by the way, 3 points. If you don't remember.
Yeah. I remember you did. You nailed it. I think I said Georgia 7 the other way around. But yeah, you nailed it.
Keep going. Yeah.
No, it's good. I thought about that too. You nailed it. So kudos to that. But it's such a great matchup on paper. So I'm super excited. Personally, I think Michigan gets it done. They've just looked really, really dominant all season. They don't look like they have many flaws or weaknesses. And obviously they've been doing some things now for a couple of weeks without their coach. And that when he comes back, they're just going to get a huge boost there. So,
well, he was back last game. You can go ahead and call him by his real name, Scummy Bag Hallbar.
Scummy Bag. I don't hate him the way that you do, but I mean, I just think that to me, I don't see too many weaknesses on their team. So I think they get it done. What do you think? You think Alabama has it in them to pull out another, I guess, quote unquote upset?
Yeah, Alabama's just playing their butts off. And I've said it, going 6-7 weeks now, obviously calling them beating Georgia last week. Jalen Milroe, he's just on another level right now. If you look at his stats over the last 6-7 weeks, they're just Heisman Trophy worthy. People were saying that he probably should have been, if he played like that the whole year, he would have been invited to go to the Heisman Trophy on Saturday. But, obviously it's a full season. He's only really been doing this for, like I said, 6-7 weeks. But I think they're just really playing very well. Their defense is playing well. I mean, look who they just beat, 29 straight wins out of Georgia. I mean, that's a really impressive stat. And to go and it was in Atlanta, so pretty close to Athens, pretty much a home game from Georgia. But for Alabama to beat them, I mean, that's a pretty solid win. And the only loss they had was at Texas on the road. I mean, at home against Texas. And they were a different team, as Nick Saban will tell you. They were trying to figure out their quarterback with Tyler Buckner or Jalen Milroe. And ever since then, they've kind of just been on a slingshot. And I think they win a close game, probably, 7 points. And I think Texas handles Washington easily just because Texas is on another level as well. They've been playing really well. They probably should be undefeated. They lost a close game to Oklahoma at the Red River Shootout, which I don't know if you watched that game, but I believe it was a 3-point game, really close. And I think Washington's good, but Texas just has way too much talent. And I could see Texas, Alabama. That was it should be a really good matchup. I think Alabama comes on head, and I think they win the championship by 7 against Texas. So I'm going Alabama championship. I mean, we have a couple weeks. We can revisit this in a couple weeks if we need to, but it's going to be interesting. And another interesting matchup, I don't know if you saw it, but Florida State's actually playing Georgia. So that's kind of a tale of two snub teams right there. So that's kind of a funny matchup. And it's going to be interesting to see if teams show up because obviously Florida State's pissed and obviously Georgia's pissed. So either going to be a really good game or a really bad game. I don't think anything in between.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good point. I would be shocked if the teams don't show up to their fullest. I haven't looked at the composition of their rosters and whatnot, but I have to imagine there's a fair amount of seniors on both teams, right? So for some of these guys, a lot of these guys, it could be their last shot, right? So they're going to want to go out with a bang, leave it all out there. At least I would. I have to think these players are playing with pride and with heart. So I would expect a good game, especially for the obvious reasons. FSU, you're going to feel slighted. So why not keep that chip on your shoulder and prove to the world what you're really made of and what if they were to pull out this win, obviously it would no doubt be huge and monumental on its own, just given what Georgia's accomplished the last couple of years. But what better way to continue the conversation and the narrative if they pull out this upset? If they just get smacked around and Georgia beats them, people are just that'll be the end of it, right? People are gonna say, "Oh yeah, well, we told you so. This is why we didn't put them in." But if they actually pull out the upset, you better believe that it's going to give all those FSU fans all that more ammunition to continue that conversation and say, "You guys are missing out. We would have done the same to Michigan or whoever it was." So
they might do what UCF did and put a little NAS championship thing on their stadium. I mean, they might do that.
Exactly. I almost forgot. I wanted to pull this up real quick while we circled back on it. But for those who are watching us, I just popped up a graphic on the screen, and it's almost a meme, if you will. On the very top, it says, "This is what happens when the committee puts in a quote-unquote deserving team." And it's a reference to last year when Georgia played TCU, and they just completely smacked them around, made TCU look like they didn't even belong there. Score was 65-7. I remember watching that game.
Me too.
And I think it was a snooze fest after a while. It was completely uncompetitive, and it's just not what a lot of people wanted to see. And unless you're a Georgia fan, that really wasn't that entertaining. And I'm not saying that that's reason enough to do what they did, or the only reason why they did what they did. But it's just a gentle reminder that circumstances matter. So I don't want to spend too much time because we already talked about it, but I did want to pop up that graphic because it was just last year. It should be fresh in everybody's minds. So, but it looks like you've got Alabama beating Michigan, right, by 7. And then you have Alabama again winning the championship over Texas by 7. Do I got that right?
Yes, sir. Let's hear what you got on the docket for us.
So
I know it's early. We can wait if you need to, but it's early.
No, I'm ready. The Michigan game, I think they take it. Like I said, for all the reasons we just talked about, I don't see a lot of weaknesses score-wise. I expect a close game. I'll probably go Michigan by 3. And then the Texas Washington game, you made a bunch of good points. I follow them a lot less, but it's hard to ignore what Texas has been doing. So I think they do pull it out as well. They've just not done much wrong all season as well. I don't have an inkling for the score in that game. I'm inclined to say it'll be another close one. I don't see Washington getting blown out, despite the fact that they seem to be getting the least amount of respect from all four teams. So I would say maybe, honestly, just 3 again. I think both teams probably win close battles. And then I think it's going to be Michigan representing in that conference or college championship against Texas. And to be honest, I see Alabama keeping it closer in the initial game against Michigan than I do Michigan versus Texas or Washington if either one of them were to win. So I could see Michigan winning by double digits over either Texas or Washington if they were to meet up in the finals. So I'm going to go Michigan by 10 versus Texas, but I would say the same if they end up playing Washington as well.
Jeez.
So,
look at you, a little closet Scumbar Hobdog fan. I see what you're doing
I'm
there.
not a
little
fan.
closet.
I am not a fan. I have zero allegiance. Like I said, I don't hate the guy the way you do. To be honest, I don't hate the guy. I don't love the guy, but I don't hate him the way you do because I just feel very different about the whole cheating angle that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. To me, I know there's rules, and if he broke them, he broke them. But I just think when it comes down to what I heard he was accused of and what they were paying or telling their staff to do, which is go to opponent stadiums and look for signs and plays and things like that and record it. That's what a scout does. A scout gets paid to do that and travel all over and take notes. And that's what players do by watching film in the locker room. I mean, guys have been doing that since the days of reels of film in the 50s and the 60s. Like I don't get it. And I would take it a step further by saying, if you're a team out there who is able to be that easily scouted and somebody you can pay a low-level staffer to just go sit in the stands and copy your plays and your signals and all that kind of stuff. If it can be done that easily, be better, disguise your stuff better, find another way, be creative. That's sports. That's competitive. I just don't see it as this whole big thing. I'm half inclined to say kudos to the guy. I mean, it's that old adage, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And I don't want to say I circumvent rules, but I don't see the Harbaugh scandal the same way that a lot of other people do. But I do think, irrespective of all that, I think the team that he's assembled and that he has in front of him is really, really good. So I think they pull it off.
I got you. Well, it's going to be good. We got a couple weeks to still talk about it, and it's going to be some good games, I feel.
Yeah, 100%. That's one thing I think we can all agree on, regardless of who feels scorned and whatnot. There's 2 really, really good matchups that are going to take place. And regardless of who comes out victorious in either one of those, it's still going to result in a good championship game, because the 4 teams that are in, are all really, really good and are really deserving. It's a shame.
Oh, for sure.
One or 5th or 6th, 1 or 2 teams that maybe were also deserving, but the 4 definitely deserve to be there. So.
Yep.
It's good stuff, man.
Cool.
A lot of angles there. We spent a good amount of time on it. It's not often that we open the show with some college talk, but
it needed to be done
for the week.
It needed to be done.
It did. So I think we can switch gears and talk about some NFL stuff. I got some stuff on my mind. I really actually thought that this is what you were going to lead out with. I didn't expect you to come out with college. I'm glad you did. I personally thought that you were going to talk about last night's game. Obviously, hits a little bit home. I know how you feel about the Jags and the stupid decisions that they have made in the past. And to be honest, I feel still make on occasion, including last night. I got some of my thunder stolen today. I was listening to Jim Rome. I should have known better, but he took the words right out of my mouth as we're watching last night's game. Again, I don't have any allegiance to either team. I just want to see a good Monday Night Football game. And we got that for a large portion of the game, I felt. But
probably the whole game, if I had to guess.
Yeah, whole game. Exactly. Yeah, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
It's just Obviously, seeing Lawrence goes down, it changes things a lot. And he went down late, so it didn't affect a ton of the game. But when you lose a player like him, it sucks. It sucks for the league. It sucks for fans who were getting a treat to watch a good Jags team that was just really rolling so far throughout this season. But what struck me most, and I think it's just one of those boneheaded things, and this is what Rome talked about, is when Lawrence goes down, they cut to him on the broadcast in the tunnel, and he was being helped off by, it looked like a security guard and a trainer or something like that. And I'm sitting there, and it was funny that he wasn't in a golf cart. He wasn't even on crutches or something. He was just hobbling with trainers. And I'm thinking to myself, where's the golf cart? How is this possible? He's your star quarterback. He's your franchise quarterback. And the guy is just hobbling down the tunnel. It looked like a circus. It looked like it wasn't well coordinated. And if I'm a fan, if I'm the owner, I'm just puzzled. I'm just wondering how something like that happens. They looked unprepared. And a lot of people were talking about, well, hey, maybe Trevor Lawrence refused a cart or something. Are you kidding? There's no way if somebody was doing their job and the injury was as bad as it looked, that they would let him walk down. I don't care what he says. If he refuses it, they say, no, Trev, sit down. Your ankle's messed up. Get in the cart. Yeah. We know you want to be a warrior and a gamer. That's admirable, but sit your butt down and think about the bigger picture. But nobody was saying that. They just let him hobble down and do more damage to that foot or that ankle. And it was just boneheaded stuff, man. Typical Jags is all you can say. But I thought you were going to lead out with that. I'm sure you got some thoughts. It's just, I can't believe it.
Very interesting, because I've actually I've been in that stadium. I've been in that locker room. I've been exactly where he was walking. And when we were, because my job, we deliver ice to them sometimes. And, I've actually seen where that was happening. And there's been golf carts with security, driving us around. So golf carts can go down there. So it was very mind-blowing why he wasn't on a golf cart. I mean, the memes today have been crazy. They said a million golf carts sold in Florida, and the Jaguars can't even get one. Yeah. So it was just really crazy. And, I mean, I don't know if he refused it, because I was watching the game last night, and then the last thing they showed was him throwing his helmet down. And then they cut back to him limping into the locker room. So I don't think he would have, told the golf cart no, or to get carted off away no. But I mean, it doesn't make sense. And it just goes back to my thing. They do stupid things. Maybe they weren't thinking justly at the time. I mean, this is their franchise quarterback. They were probably shell shocked. And to tell you the truth, they didn't really know what to do. If it was anybody else, if it was like left guard Greg Gross or right tackle Dan O'Brien, they know what to do. But this is the franchise Trevor Lawrence. So they probably were shell shocked. They probably were like, oh no, this is not real. Maybe they didn't want to think that it was maybe they didn't want to piss off the fans either and say, get them all worried, because as I've mentioned before, Jaguar fans are not the best fans in the world. They're going to show up when they're good, as you saw last night, and then they're not going to show up when they suck, as you've seen years before. So they had a full crowd last night. I had some friends there. They said the crowd was rocking. So they probably maybe didn't want to, like I said, alert the fans, and maybe that might have been in the back of their head. But still, you got to think about the person, you got to think about the injury, and you got to think about the severity of the injury, and you got to bring that card out no matter what.
Right. I don't see how it's even a question. I really
exactly
don't. With all the stuff that the NFL does nowadays, when it comes to concussions, they've got the blue tent out there, especially what happened with guys like DeMar Hamlin last year, how unfortunate and serious that was. The NFL and all teams should be on high alert and prepared for just about anything. And to not have a cart in the vicinity is just incredible. It's just wacky. But obviously, Bengals ended up coming out on top in that game and changes things a little bit, because it was the week before, I want to say, where the Jags beat Houston, if I'm right about that. And that was a game that gave Jacksonville a little bit of a cushion and put some distance between them and second place. But if I pull up the standings now, I want to say that it's back down to one game. Yeah. So the Jags
7-5
one game lead. Yeah, on both the Colts and the Texans. So that division is certainly up for grabs now. Nothing's a given, and it'll be interesting to see. I don't think it's been announced yet. I think high ankle sprain, but I'm not sure if Lawrence is out or in yet for this week. Have they made that announcement? Do you know?
No, watching the local news tonight, they interviewed the head coach Doug Peterson, and he was just saying we're going to see how he reacts today, tomorrow, kind of take it day to day. But
Yeah.
I was speaking with some friends and speaking with my mom tonight. She was saying that a lot of times sprains are worse than breaks. I'm sure a lot of injuries. So I think I think that a high ankle sprain, that's what Mahomes had last year. Didn't he have a high ankle sprain? And you saw kind of how that hobbled him a lot. I mean, he able
Yeah.
to play, but that's Mahomes. I mean, we don't know about Trevor Lawrence because this is going to be, if he misses a start, this will be his first start missed out of his whole career. I want to say it was 46 starts in a row. Last night they were talking about when he came off, and I don't know if you watched that when CJ Beathard came in, but he does not look good. That he almost lost the game. Did you see that that
Yeah.
run? I mean, he fumbled it, and luckily they recovered it. That would have been the game. And I mean, his stats look good, but he was throwing 3-4 yard passes. I mean, he
Yeah.
does
I
not
did
look good.
notice that. He was
Yeah, he
throwing
does not
everything
look good.
short.
Yeah, he
Well,
does not look
I
good.
feel bad for the guy because on the one hand, I'm inclined to think that backup quarterbacks need to be ready for all situations
They
and
should be.
circumstances,
Yeah,
especially when you look at this year, how many guys have gone down. They showed a graphic last night when Lawrence went down.
yeah, I
Rodgers,
remember that.
obviously, the fourth play, just opening the season. Daniel Jones, Joe Burrow, Lawrence, Richardson on the Colts. It just goes on and on. There's so many quarterbacks this year that have gone down. So the backup should almost expect to get into the game at some point. So for
Yeah.
for a guy not to be ready, especially with how much crap these backup quarterbacks take from the media and fans, because people just say they're glorified clipboard holders, right? Like they get paid
Exactly.
millions of dollars to just sit on the sidelines. How are you not going to be ready and prepared to go into a game when you're called? It's your dream scenario, especially a guy like Beathard, been around for a while. You're hoping and praying. You don't want Lawrence to go down, obviously, but you want to seize the opportunity when you get it to get in the game. But I did notice he was throwing everything short. And I guess in his defense, if we can take up for him a little bit, he's got to feel the pressure. He doesn't want to be the one responsible to come into a game late and then all of a sudden give it away. So I do get that part of it. He doesn't want to force. Think about it. If he were to throw an untimely interception, or if he holds on to the ball too long and fumbles it, they would crucify him in a heartbeat. He would be laughed and mocked out of that stadium. So I
Which
have
is
a
what he
feeling
did
that's
pretty much.
why. Yeah, I guess so. I guess.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a no-win situation for him, I guess. He's in a tough spot, kind of coming in somewhat cold. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. If Lawrence does miss extended time, how the Jags rebound, because that division is far, far, far from over. But there were a couple other really, really good games. I wanted to spend a minute or two on, I think, what was probably a surprise for a lot of people, and that was the 49ers-Eagles game. I think coming into last week, that was the matchup that was on everybody's radar. Matchup of the NFC Championship. I think the year before when Brock
Last
Purdy
year.
he got injured. So there was a lot of I guess questions about what the teams would look like this time around. I saw some memes out there about Debo who said it wouldn't be close if Brock was in, and that's exactly what we saw this past weekend, because it wasn't close.
No, it wasn't at all.
The Eagles, I don't think they looked terrible. If anything, I think you have to pay homage and tribute to how pedestrian San Fran can make other teams look. We've been saying it. I know I've been saying it from the beginning of the year that San Fran was the most complete team. And I think they've only emphasized that over the year throughout this season by adding guys like Chase Young. They did just a couple of weeks ago. He had a little bit of an impact this past week. I think he had a sack or two. So he's making his presence felt. And it's just, I think it's giving credit where credit's due. The 49ers are just a beast of a team. I don't know really, outside of the Ravens, maybe the Chiefs in the other conference, I don't know if there's another team that really holds up to them. The Dolphins, to me, have looked too inconsistent. We talked about how they haven't really beat a team with a winning record. I'm not writing off the Eagles. I fully expect San Fran and Philly to meet again come playoff time, and probably the road to the Super Bowl will go through the two of them in the NFC Championship. So not writing them off by any means, but I think that was a statement game from the 49ers. And similar to Michigan, as we talk about in the college landscape, the 49ers just don't look like they have many weaknesses at all. In fact, when you look at their roster, it's almost comical. Brock Purdy's a young quarterback. He's probably still figuring a lot of things out, but he looks like he's got the tools, the talent, the smarts, and he's surrounded by a complement of players on all sides of the ball. McCaffrey is just we all know what he is. He can run, he can catch passes, he can block. Then you got guys like Deebo Samuel. I talk about it. I was thrilled this past weekend. I'm a Deebo fantasy owner, and man, that guy is just, he can do everything. I think you might have said it. He's sort of one of those Swiss Army knife guys.
Yeah.
Catch passes. He does reverses. He sheds tackles like nobody's business. And then you look at the tight end out there too. People forget about George Kittle. When you have a Deebo, an Ayuk, a McCaffrey, a guy like George Kittle just flies under the radar, but he would be the number one option on so many teams out there. So I really think it was a statement game from San Fran, and they look like a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, definitely. Going off what you said, I mean, we spoke about them when they were 5-0. Remember, we called them Brocktoberfest, and we were saying how they were the best team in the NFL. And then what happened was they got injuries. Deebo was out, Trent Williams was out, and you can see when Trent Williams and Deebo were out, they lost 3 in a row, and everybody was like, "Oh, they're not good." And then what happened? They came off the bye week and went to Jacksonville, and then smoke tech Jacksonville, and ever since then they've just been on I think they're on a 4-game win streak. Yeah, 9-3. So, yeah, they're hands down the best team in the NFL. I mean, we'll talk about our picks from last week because unfortunately that was one of mine. But that's here nor there. But just to go into Philadelphia and manhandle them 42-19 against what the Eagles were doing, that's a very, very impressive win. I mean, Brock Purdy, 314 yards and 4 touchdowns. I heard this past weekend after the game, they were talking about him could be one of the first mystery relevants to be the MVP, and that would be quite an accomplishment. So I do believe that they're just a hands above any other team. And
yeah,
I mean, maybe the Ravens give them a chance because the Ravens have, Lamar Jackson. They also have a pretty solid defense, but who's going to match up with them? Because their defense is top notch and their offense is top notch. And then, like you were saying, if you double team Ayuk, if you double team McCaffrey, who's going to be there? George Kittle. So,
yeah,
it's this very, very peculiar situation on how to defend them. And the coach, Shanahan, is probably the top coach in the NFL, I would say, up there, top 5 at least. And he's definitely pushing all the right buttons, and he knows what he's doing. And I don't know if you saw that crazy thing that happened with the head of security with the Eagles, but they were saying that Shanahan was all fired up and said that it was a disgrace that the head of security can put hands on a player, and then the player got ejected. So that kind of fired them up too, because after that it was a close game, and after that they kind of just put it in rocket mode and made it happen. I believe that they put it out of hand after that whole altercation.
Yeah, I did see that. I think I caught Shanahan's comments before he saw the film, because the comment I saw of him or heard of him was that he really couldn't comment on it. He said that he had heard some things, but he hadn't had a chance yet to look at the film or understand what was said. So I think he was kind of shocked, but it doesn't surprise me if he was a bit more irate after seeing what actually happened. There's two sides to every story, and we didn't really get to hear the audio piece of it. I could tell the San Fran player obviously clearly made contact with the trainer, whoever it was, the security guy from Philly. Yeah. And you can't do that. So I think he definitely needed to be ejected. It did kind of look, at least at first glance, it looked like it might have been an accident. I kind of thought he was making this pointing gesture, and maybe he just kind of.
That's what I thought too. Yeah, he was trying to point at him.
But either way, you touch the guy, you got to get tossed. But I think they did the right thing by tossing the Eagles security guy, because there's two sides to every story, and there's one thing you can't do if you're on the sidelines and not in the game. You can't just incite things like that. You're on the sidelines. You got to know what your role is out there. So I think they did the right thing tossing both of those guys. The one thing that I found just kind of weird. Another maybe stadium gaffe. We talked about the Jags and not having a cart for Lawrence, but it seemed like who was the guy? I forget his name now, the 49er. Do you know his name?
Hold on. I'll look it up real quick. It was a linebacker.
Yeah, whatever. I forget his name, but when he got tossed, he was allowed the opportunity to just leave on his own, which I thought was amazing. If you're ejected, you should get escorted at least to the tunnel, and then somebody should make sure you go to the locker room. Your game is over. But when this was going on, I think he sat on the sidelines for a play or two. I think the game had actually resumed, and he was just kind of lost in the sauce behind the teams and the benches. And he was sort of like, I think he was gesturing
Dre
to the
Greenlaw
crowd as he was walking. Who was it?
Dre Greenlaw.
Greenlaw, yeah. So when Greenlaw got tossed, no one actually walked him to the tunnel and walked him to the locker room. He just was allowed to leave on his own. And the NFL's lucky. I mean, if you eject the guy, somebody, an official or somebody should walk the guy out. But I think they did the right thing by tossing those two guys. So it was interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Another game that caught my eye, I'm sure it did yours. I don't really know what to make of it, but the Sunday night football game was a good one with Packers and Chiefs. Jordan Love looked pretty good. He surprised me, and I don't want to take anything away from what he and the Packers are doing, because they've certainly made themselves relevant again. They put themselves right back in the conversation for a playoff berth, wild card, or maybe even division. It's even that division is not completely wrapped up. But as much as they've looked better over these last few weeks, something still, we talked about it quite a bit, is just not right with the Chiefs. They've lost some of their magic, and I don't know if it's coaching, if it's Mahomes, maybe if it's Kelsey being distracted with the whole Taylor Swift stuff. I don't know what it is. I think the glaring thing is that the offense just isn't scary the way it was the last few years. You could make an argument that it's the absence of Tyreek Hill. That's a really good conversation to have. It's hard to fill that type of void because you see what he's doing. You see what he did in Miami this past week. Just absolutely bonkers.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2 60, 70-yard touchdowns. Washington leaving them uncovered and things like that. It's crazy. But the Chiefs just don't look right. Something's different about them this year. Again, not writing them off. Still a number of weeks for them to try to get right. But they do not quite look the same as the same powerhouse as we saw them a couple of years ago anyway. Something's different.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you hit it right on the nail. I believe that they're still trying to find a receiver. You know, they're still trying to find Tyreek Hill's replacement.
I know there's not as many trades in the NFL as there are in other leagues, but you see it every once in a while. Like who did Claypool go to last year? Did he go to?
He went to
somebody. He's just one example that I'm thinking of. Not a great one.
I don't even know where he went, but I don't know. I mean, it's just they're looking for a receiver, and they had Rasheed Rice, but he was a third-round draft pick for a reason. I mean, he's got speed, but he's not an elite receiver. So they may have to somehow work the salary cap and get somebody big out in the free agency, because that might be the only option, because they're still going to make the playoffs. They're still going to be, a top 3 seed, and they still have Mahomes. Their defense is a top 5 defense. They still have Kelsey, but when it comes down to it, if you shut down Kelsey and you shut down Pacheco, you saw what happened Sunday night. I mean, you have no receiver. I mean, that's what I think. I mean, Kelsey still had a good game, 4 receptions, 81 yards, but there was no other receiver, and that's their main. I think that's their main point of weakness is their receiver room. They got McCall Hardman back from the Jets, but he hasn't really done anything since they got him back. At the trade deadline. I don't remember really seeing his name at all.
Yeah. Did you, while we're talking about this game, did you see the stat or the meme, I guess you could call it, that came out about Rodgers and Love and their stats?
No, I did not. What was it?
Oh, I almost don't believe it. And that's what the subject here says. It says, this is unbelievable. It's Aaron Rodgers in his first 11 starts in 2008. So I guess when he was a rookie or whenever he took over for Favre, his first 11 starts, 2,599 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, and a 5-6 record. Jordan Love, in his first 11 starts in 2023, 2,599 passing yards, the same, 21 total touchdowns, the same, and a 5-6 record, the same.
Damn.
Identical. Carbon copies down to the yards. I almost
wild.
don't believe it. How is that possible? The same amount
Where's
of
your
games.
stat? Who put it out there?
This was a Packers, Green Bay Packers Facebook fan page or something.
I mean, I
so
think
take it
it's
for what it's
legit.
worth. I don't think it's fabricated at all. I'm pretty sure.
That is wild,
Actually,
though.
I take it back. They posted this during the game.
Wow.
Sunday night. The broadcast had it up. I think who does that game? Is it
NBC?
Is it Collinsworth? Yeah, Collinsworth,
Yeah.
right? And I'm
Collinsworth
pretty sure
and
they
Tirico.
posted it, and these guys reposted it. But it wild. How the hell is that?
That
even
is
possible?
wild. Yeah, that's wild.
But yeah, I mean, Love looks pretty good. I don't, like I said, want to take anything away from him. It's interesting, the Giants are what they are. So I'm kind of normally, if there wasn't this much good action, I would especially with hockey and basketball coming into the mix now, my focus would shift away from the NFL gradually. Obviously, I still pay attention and watch Super Bowl every year, but I'm highly invested in how things are unfolding down the stretch here, because some of these divisions that we thought were looking like they were locked up are not so. There's still quite a few good stories out there. I'm looking at the AFC East now. The Bills had a bye this past week. I'm curious to see if we talked about it last week, if they even stay in the playoff picture with how things are unfolding. I'm looking at the Steelers too, which they just look.
I get they lost to the Cardinals. That was unreal.
This past week, just another week, they look. I can't believe they still have a winning record. They could lose the next two games and still have a 500 record. They're 7-5. They got to be one of the worst 7-5 teams I've seen maybe ever. And as we sit here and talk about them, they would have to have some kind of major collapse here down the stretch to end the season for that stat to still not ring true, where Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. I mean, it could happen. There's enough games left, but all they have to do is win two more and end the season 9-8, and that stat still comes through. It's just amazing. I don't understand how they are where they are, but they're still in the playoff picture, and so are the Browns, and so are the Bengals by getting a huge win last week.
Yeah.
So that division is still up for grabs. AFC South is up for grabs. Denver, they were making a little bit of resurgence. They kind of cooled off a bit. I would say the Chiefs probably win that division, and I don't think another team from that division will come or another team will come into the playoffs from that division. When you look at the NFC East, I'm really interested, even though I'm a Giants fan, it pains me to say this, but there's a huge matchup on the card this week, Dallas and Philly. It's another one of those games where all the eyes are going to be on it. And I think now Philly's got to be a little bit nervous. It looked like they were going to get that first round bye, and now you've got teams that are right on their heels. You've got San Fran, Detroit, and Dallas, who are all one game behind them. So it makes a big difference. So I'm excited to see some of these matchups as we wind down the season. There's going to be some good stories to follow.
Yeah, definitely there is. And one game that really pointed out to me, it wasn't a win by the Browns, but to have Joe Flacco come off the bench and off the sidelines and actually have a pretty good game. I mean, he at a point they were into it until the end of the game when the Rams blew away. But it was a 2019 game at one point. The field goal kicker for the Browns missed their extra point, and it would have been tied up. But that was very impressive by Joe Flacco. I mean, I don't know how he was able to do it, but I guess he just keeps himself ready. I mean, coming right off the sidelines and having a pretty solid game. I mean, he had one stupid interception, but besides that, he had a pretty solid game.
Yeah. Did you see the thing? Apparently, people are criticizing. I think it might have been a Barstool post. People are criticizing different quarterbacks for how they spend their time on game day. I think it was last night. Burrow was on the sidelines, playing the role of the cheerleader, doing the rah-rah, trying to pump his team up, but also probably trying to help the backup. What's his name? Browning? Is that his name?
Yeah, Jake Browning. Yeah, Jake Browning.
So he was trying to help him, which I think is great. If you can't physically be out there, I think that becomes his role. He's now the backup, and he should be watching the iPad or whatever and helping him out. And then I think they were comparing other quarterbacks. It might have been Deshaun Watson or somebody, I forget who, but was sitting up in the stands or the suite, and they were sitting with their wife or their girlfriend, and just they seemed disengaged. They weren't helping their team the same way. And I don't know if that's a fair criticism or not. Is it fair to criticize a guy how he spends his time? Because you don't really know what he's doing behind closed doors during the week. If he's on the practice, if he's on the sidelines during practice, if he's in meetings and things like that. I just saw it was a criticism rolling around. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't see that, but it is interesting. I mean, I have noticed that some people are either on the sidelines or they're up in the suite, either helping or not helping. So, yeah, I didn't catch that, but, I mean, I've heard that before in the past.
I think it's kind of senseless. People just criticize people for anything nowadays.
They need something to talk about, man. Look at us. We just need something to talk about.
Headlines, I guess. Yeah.
Headlines, yeah.
That tabloid fodder. Yeah. So, what else NFL wise? We're close to the top of the hour mark. We got to get to our beer reviews, but there's a whole bunch of NFL action. I don't want to leave anything out. I forget something. There was a ton of good games this past week.
Just the laughable Jets, man. 13-8. I don't know if you saw today, they released Tim Boyle. I don't know if you heard the story that Zach Wilson, quote unquote, didn't want to play. And then, Saleh, who I've had words about Saleh, calling him, a people person, not a people person, but a pencil pusher, just somebody who doesn't have any balls. I mean, I don't think he does. And I just think, they're waiting for next year because, you listen to Boomer and Gio like I do. And I don't think they're going to fire anybody because, Aaron Rodgers has a lot of clout in that locker room. So he's going to say, if you fire Hackett or if you fire Saleh, I'm not coming back. So, unfortunately for Jets fans, they got at least one more year with Saleh. And that's just a laughable season, a laughable time. I mean, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be now. I mean, I guess Zach Wilson or Travis Simeon. And they signed Brett Ripken off a practice squad. I mean, he's nothing. So,
yeah.
Just
interesting.
Crazy stuff.
They released Boyle, but it is kind of surprising because you're right now. I mean, their season's it's over. They're sitting at 4-8. It's you can make the argument it's been over. But you're right. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be now. I guess maybe they're just biding time. And the good thing I think is because I hate the story of Rodgers potentially coming back. We know now that's definitely not happening. It never really was happening, but I think we can at least put the speculation to bed, given the fact that the Jets are fully out of the conversation now. So looking to next year, it seems like it's got to be a certainty that he comes back, right, Rodgers? I mean,
he's going to come back, but that's what I'm saying. If he has a lot of clout and he has a lot of say, so they're not going to fire the coaching staff, unfortunately, which I think they do need to change. I mean, either keep Nathaniel Hackett at offensive coordinator and bring in an alpha dog at head coach, or move Hackett to head coach and tell Saleh to go be a little boy as be a defensive coordinator, or do something. But I mean,
go be a little boy and keep those receipts, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep those receipts. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just a train wreck in East or not East or wherever they play in New Jersey. I don't know what is it, Florham Park or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
So
before we move away and step away and take a break, one more game that caught my eye that I wanted to touch on just briefly.
Sure.
Looking at the score, 6-0.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that one.
you didn't want to miss that one. Chargers and Patriots. If you missed it, you didn't miss much. I can't believe how bad the Patriots look. Also, just like the Jets and a couple other teams, they like the Steelers. The Patriots just arguably look as bad as anybody right now. Couldn't put up any points. I've said it. I don't think the Chargers are very good, and they still couldn't put up any points against them. It looks like I think they were home for the game. We talked a bit about Belichick. I know you think he's going to stay. I don't know. I can't really – I don't have a feel for it, whether he stays or not, but I just am surprised that they look as bad as they do. And I don't know if you caught this stat, but it looks like the Patriots were the first team, I think since 1930, to lose 3 straight games when they've allowed 10 or fewer points in each of the games. It's remarkable. It's really is remarkable. A feat. It's a tough feat to accomplish because your defense at that point seems like they're doing their job and your offense is just on a milk carton. I mean, it's amazing
it's
that
ridiculous.
somebody can be that bad. That's a badge of honor that I know nobody wants. I know the hoodie doesn't want it. It's going to be an interesting story. That and the Rodgers one and some others of whether or not Hoodman is back next year. I know you think he's done all he needs to do and prove to basically stay on as long as he wants. And I'm not saying I disagree. I just don't know because I don't really know what's going on there. I don't know if he's got the same passion anymore. You're certainly not seeing it from the product on the field. So I don't know. That was something I just wanted to touch on because that's an amazing stat.
Yeah, they always said that he couldn't win without Tom Brady, and look what's happening since Tom Brady's been gone. I mean, what's been happening with the Patriots? They haven't been able to win without Tom Brady, and that's what they always said about Bill Belichick. So but again, he writes his own ticket. He leaves when he wants to leave. I mean, they're going to have a top 5 draft pick, so maybe he gets more excitement with a really good quarterback coming out in the draft. So maybe that gives him some extra energy, some extra oomph. That could be something that keeps him around.
Yeah. Did you see Ramondre Stevenson went down, I think, during the game?
He did.
Has you seen a status on him yet? Is he out for a while?
Hold on. Let me look at a box score. He was out. He didn't come back. So let me see if I could get a little injury real quick. Mac Jones, Hunter Henry.
I ask because I played against him in fantasy this week, and you and I both know we've got one of our friends has him on his team, and he'll be in the playoff race. So if
just says that he had an injury and he didn't come back, so I didn't hear anything yet. But it's only Tuesday, so.
Well, when it rains, it pours. If you're a Patriots fan, that's not good news. So
no, it's not.
Pour one out for Stevenson and the Pats.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's NFL talk for this week. We'll circle back before the end of the show and make our picks for the next week. We're still going to get to probably some hockey, some NBA, and a little bit more, but we definitely know we got to get to our beer reviews. So we're going to take a short time out, and we'll be back in a few.
Yes, sir.
Smile and a couple beautiful girls tell me goodbye. Trucks break down, dogs run off, politicians lie, been fired by the boss. It takes one hand to count the things I can count on. No, there ain't much man that ain't ever let me down. Long neck, ice cold beer never broke my heart like diamond rings and football teams have torn this boy apart like a neon guitar and long neck ice cold beer never broke my heart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
What that
yeah.
song and that sound means beer drinking time.
Best time of the day.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
So I took some notes. You'd be proud of me. I circled your name last week, which meant you went first. So I think
Okay.
I get the honors this week. Is that right?
Yes, sir, buddy. Yes, sir.
Keep me honest. Keep me honest. Okay. Got my cup that I've gone with all season so far. And I think next week or the week after, I'm probably going to have to change things up and go with something a little more, I guess you could say, traditional, because this is another pick that is very much out there. I'm going based on artwork and based on name. This beer is called Failsafe, and I'll hold it up to the camera for those watching at home. It's hard to see.
Woven Water. I've been to that brewery in Tampa.
You have? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. So I don't know if you remember, but I picked this one because it says Failsafe, and I was thinking if you're a guy that is a literal person, which I kind of am, then I hope that this beer doesn't let me down. And if you read the back of it, it says it's a Czech style Pilsner. It says your go-to. What's that? Oh, you had that. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So this says your go-to, your constant. If worse comes to worse, your fail-safe. This traditional style Czech Pilsner is brewed with 100% bark Pilsner malt and hopped exclusively with noble Czech Saaz hops. I don't know how you pronounce that, but you're right. It is Woven Water Brewing Company. It's in Tampa, so it's a local beer here to South Florida. Czech style Pilsner, obviously. I'm trying to see the alcohol by volume, which I cannot see right now. It's not even on the front of the can. And
not at the bottom?
No.
Interesting. Not on the corner?
The can's very, very dented, but no, it's not on here from what I can tell. So I don't know if that's illegal, but it's not on here. So we'll have to guess. Maybe I could look it up. In fact, if you want to do that while I'm pouring, that would be helpful. But we'll see what this tastes like. I like Pilsners, so I'm hoping that I'm gonna like this one. Czech style Pilsner from Tampa, Woven Water.
What's the name of it?
Woven Water Brewing.
No, the name of the beer.
Oh, Failsafe.
Okay.
Well, this is
not. It is 4.8% alcohol volume.
This is not a good pour, but I'm chalking this up to the can because, well, look at the can's got multiple dents in it. I called that out, so
you probably should have picked it better there, buddy.
So it's not so bad. What was it? 4 what?
4.8.
Okay. So a little too much head. Not as bad as I thought, but it smells like a Pilsner.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of kind of almost tartness to it, I guess you could say. Let me see. It's not bad. It's a little got a little more bite to it than I thought it would. I usually like Pilsners. I usually find they're smooth and go down easy. This one's got a little bit of a sharpness to it. Not in a terrible way, just different than what I was expecting. Let me get one more sip in.
Sure.
Well, let me think here. I was pretty honest last week with my rating. This one, I'm gonna be a tough critic, and I'm gonna try to be fair because we've been doing this 11 weeks now. I guess we're almost a dozen beers in, and there's been a number that I've actually thoroughly enjoyed, and that's why we talked about it. If we're giving beers an 8 and an 8.5, it means we really like them. We would get them again. This one I would get again, but it's not one of my favorites compared to some of the others. So I'm going to go, it's better than the one I had last week. I'm going to go a flat 8.0 on this one, 8.0.
Okay. That's
So-
respectable.
Yeah, this was Failsafe from Woven Water Brewery. Not
Very
bad.
cool brewery.
Not
They've got
my
good
best.
beers from
Right
there.
there in the middle, basically. So
They have good beers. I've had a couple of their beers there. They have really good IPAs, really good hazy IPAs, and I've had a Belgium style wheat there, which is pretty good.
So if you're a Pilsner fan and you're in the Tampa area, it's worth a stop over to the brewery, Woven Water, and I'd recommend this one. Give it a shot.
It's actually like 2 blocks from where Chris used to live. Chris Dolan used to live in Tampa, so it opened when he was moving. So we went there a couple of times before he moved.
Got it. Nice.
Yep. So the beer that I have right here, it's called Heat Wave. It's an IPA from Magnify Brewing, made in New Jersey. So you can kind of see it's got a cool little logo on it. I'm trying to get it where you can see it.
Yeah. I
So
like it.
it's brewed and canned in Fairfield, New Jersey by Magnifying Brewing. It is a 6.1 alcohol by volume Indian Pale Ale. It says craft brewed in Fairfield, New Jersey. So when I was taking this beer out tonight, I realized I've done a lot of IPAs lately, and I don't know if that's a trend, but I might have to try to switch it up. And I know I did some sours last week. I did a check, but there's been a lot of hazies and a lot of IPAs. So I don't know. They're all good beers, but we're going to try this one. So let's see what kind of pour we can do.
All right. Looks like a pretty good yellow orange.
Yeah. Yep.
Almost like it looks like a burnt orange color. Is that right?
It does. It almost looks like a blue moon.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, it looks exactly like a blue moon. Look at that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that looks good.
Definitely very hoppy.
Oh boy.
That is really, really good. It's not 8.5 level, but it's an 8, solid 8. Very, very good.
You're going 802? Okay.
Yeah, gonna go 8.0. It's not what it's been the last couple weeks, but it's a good beer. It's a good IPA. It's got really good flavors. It's kind of on the tart end, but not as sweet as other hazy IPAs have been and the IPAs have been, but it's tasty.
I like it. Look at us.
Yeah.
8.0 is right down the middle.
Yeah. Cheers, brother.
Cheers. There you have it. A Pilsner, an IPA, both 8.0s.
Yes, sir.
Bottoms up. That's good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Moving on. I guess we can spend a few minutes talking some NHL, some NBA. Really, my focus was going to be heavy on football, and I got some more thoughts when we get around to our picks.
Sure. I do have something I want to lead off with the hockey. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah, shoot, go for it.
So I don't know if you saw this, but the Coyotes, they beat the Capitals 6-0 for a historic 5th straight win against previous Stanley Cup champions. I don't know. Did you see that the other day?
I saw the score. I didn't see the stat or the headline.
Yeah, so they're the first team to beat the 5 franchises to win the Stanley Cup in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so they beat they beat the Blackhawks, or no, they beat the Avalanche, they beat the Lightning, they beat the Capitals,
Vegas,
and they beat the Blues. Yeah, in Vegas.
And Vegas, yeah. Wow. And
Yeah,
who would have
so
thought
that
it would have come from Arizona? Because I don't think anybody picked them to do anything special this year.
Especially the freaking arena they play in, 4,800 is their capacity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting environment they have out there. You and I, we have a buddy who lives out there who's been to those games and says he actually loves it because it's such a small stadium that you kind of get, I guess, an up close personal vibe and feel. It's got to be interesting when you're around just 5,000 people. I would probably say, and again, I haven't been there myself, but don't you think it would probably be similar to a minor league baseball game?
I would put it as like watching a single A team, or like the Tortugas that I mentioned when we introduced Chip. Like a 4,000 team and 4,000 attendance. Probably going to watch the Bradenton Marauders out at Lecom Park that we love.
Yep,
that's probably similar to that.
Good old Marauders. We like them.
Yes, we do. We love the ballpark too. A lot of ice cold beers there.
We'll be visiting this year for sure.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
one thing that caught my eye, it's just a stat. The Devils play the Canucks tonight, actually in 20 minutes once we're done with our show. And it'll be the first time that all three Hughes boys are on the ice together for a game. Of course,
I saw
Jack
that. That
and
was
Luke
cool.
on the Devils and Quinn. Quinn's having a heck of a season out there in Vancouver. He's really just elevated his game even more. He was already just such a rising star, but him and Brock Boser and some other guys, Pedersen out there, they have a really, really strong team in Vancouver. They've surprised me so far this year. The start that they've had, they look really, really deep, as deep as some of the teams in the league right now. Couple other teams that we talked about, the Bruins, the Knights, the Rangers, the Kings. Those are teams that just look to be the cream of the crop right now, as we're about a quarter of the way through the season or so. Most teams have played 20 games or so. It kills me that the Rangers are up there atop the league right now, the best of the bunch, and they actually have a couple games in hand too, which is scary. Sitting there at 18-4-1, I knew that they were going to be good, but I didn't expect them to be this good. The only thing that I can cling to right now as a Devils fan is hoping that maybe they just blow their load, so to speak, and get it all out of the way here. You know, they can get all their regular season victories they want. If they fizzle out come playoff time, that'll make me a happy boy again. But they do look really, really good. One team that's surprised me a little bit, I thought you were going to mention this, but the Lightning played the Stars over the weekend. I want to say it was Saturday, and they just got thrashed. They lost, I think, I got to look it up. Was it 6-0, 8-0?
I'll pull it up. It was, hold on.
Was it 8-2?
8-1. I'm looking at it right here.
8-1.
Yeah.
They just got their butts beat. And even more surprising to me was that Vasilevsky was in, and we all know how dominant he can be. Arguably best goalie in the league, has been for a while, and he was hurt for the better part of this year and just recently came back. I think it was his second or third game back, and when he's in, you never expect to see a lopsided score like that, but they got absolutely dominated. But they did get their revenge. I think it was last night, or the days are escaping me now. It was last night or the night before. No, it wasn't last night. So it was Sunday. They got their revenge against Dallas. So that was kind of nice to see. Trying to think now. It wasn't Sunday.
It wasn't Sunday.
Was it yesterday?
It was Monday, yesterday. 4-0.
Oh, okay, yeah, I did miss it. Yeah, 4-0. So they got their revenge, which was nice to see. That's the Lightning team that I think we are accustomed to seeing, and we'll probably see them down the stretch now that Vasi's back. But we talked about Dolinator, and when he joined us, our friend Chris down in South Florida, Miami area, who's connected to the Panthers, works for the organization. They're still in the mix right now. They're off to a really good start. Their home and away records are almost identical: 7-4 at home, 7-4-2 on the road, and overall 14-8-2. They're not doing much wrong. They got a goal differential of +10. They're right there in the mix. I expect them to be competing for a playoff season as we really get into the thick of things here down the stretch.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to bring them up, but we have a group chat between the three of us, and I believe that Dolinator thought he'd be very funny and cute to start messing up with Islanders versus the Panthers on Saturday night, and he gave me a couple of stats. And I don't know if you remember, but if you look at the standings here, it says they're on a 1-game losing streak, and I wonder who they lost to last. I believe it's the Islanders.
I wonder.
People are going to talk a lot of game, but my Islanders showed up and they got the victory. So we're still looking good. The Islanders, like I said, we're a quarter through. I believe the Islanders I'm looking at, we got 26 points. You guys got 23 points, and the Rangers got 37. So we're still, like I keep saying every show, it's going to be a matter of time before, if we don't put up or shut up, that I think we're going to get our team. We're going to collapse our team because, like I said, we got that solid core, and Lamoriello is not going to put up with losing because, like I said, we both have. You've had him with the Devils, and I have now the Islanders. He doesn't like losing, so that old core that's been around for 5-6 years, I'm sure he's going to blow it up if they don't start moving in the right direction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's got to be done. You guys need to shake something up.
what I'm
Sorokin
saying.
can't do everything by himself. He's such a
Neither
talented
can
goalie.
Barzell either. Barzell can't
Right.
either. I mean, they need some three people.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's
I'm looking at the rookie stats right now for players in the NHL. Connor Bedard, of course, is having a great season, which is nice to see. There was so much pressure on that kid coming into the season. You always wonder how they're going to do. And a lot of players, it's not uncommon for them to not quite have the best rookie season out of the gate, but then, they start to live up to it. Once they mature a little bit, they put on some pounds, they get used to the league, but he's had no trouble filling in. He doesn't have a whole lot of help out there right now in Chicago, but he is atop the leaderboard with 20 points right now. But I don't want to say right behind him, but second place, he's 6 points behind my boy Luke Hughes on the Devils. He's a defenseman and already has 14 points. So I am really happy to see how well Luke has adjusted to the league so far. He looks like a really, really young, promising star for the Devils that they need pretty badly. They're hurting on defense right now. If you ask a lot of people, it's kind of 50-50 right now what's wrong with the Devils, because I had super high expectations. I think a lot of people did coming into this season. They made a ton of offseason moves, bringing in Timo Meier at the deadline last year, a guy like Tyler Toffoli, who's been a huge, huge boost to the team this year. But the Devils' record so far isn't where it was expected to be. And it's 50-50 who you ask. A lot of people will say it's goaltending. They've been up and down with Akira Schmid and Vitek Vanacek this year. But I think it's defense. And that's why I say we need a guy like Luke Hughes, who has stepped up. We desperately need him to continue. We're missing guys like Dougie Hamilton, who are probably done for the year.
Yeah, I saw he went out with a shoulder injury, right?
Yeah, we not that Dougie is a defensive stalwart. He actually is, contributes more offensively and on the power play, but he's a veteran presence that we need on a team that is comprised of mostly young kids who are still adjusting to the league. So we miss him very much, and I think the Devils really, really need someone else on defense. We lost Damon Severson this past year, had been on the team for a while. Even he wasn't really known as a defensive defenseman, but again, a veteran guy, knows the team. Wouldn't have thought his departure would make as big of an impact as it has. Adam Graves, we lost as well. Those guys, it's starting to be felt. I personally think there's too many turnovers. There's breakdowns on the Devils. We talked about it last week, and I'm not an excuse guy, but I did get confirmation that the Devils have had the most back-to-backs so far in the league.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's going to continue throughout the rest of the season, but it was confirmed. And I can see that because I watch them every night, and there's been a number of times where they play and then they play right again. And it takes its toll, especially when you're dealing with injuries. So hopefully that's some of what their struggles have been. But they're like the Islanders. Both these teams, I think, need to make something. Yeah, there's people already calling for Lindy Ruff's head. He's been with the team now as the coach for a couple of years. The coach we know is always going to shoulder a lot of the blame. And there was fire Lindy chants last year, the year before, actually, I think. I don't know. I'm not really ready to can him just yet. I think he's got to be on the hot seat. The discussion's there, but it's the old adage: coaches coach, players play. I think the players themselves have to execute, and I watch the Devils closely with a fine-tooth comb every night, and to me, they're just not executing. So, but they're in the conversation. Your Isles are too, and hopefully we're looking at playoffs when they come around.
Yep, and then Oilers haven't lost since I saw them in Washington. I don't know if you noticed that. They're on a little win streak. Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. Wow. Yeah, they're on a win streak.
Look at you, man. Awesome. You go to cities and then you help the road team. You help the away team go on a streak.
I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, I mentioned it when I went, last week I mentioned that game, how the Oilers looked like they should be the top team in the league. And they've been playing well. I mean, McDavid has had probably an assist in every game of the 4-game win streak. So maybe they're turning it around. Maybe they just needed a little a DOB love, as I would call it. So
that's right. Yeah. They won, 5-0 they won when you were there?
Yeah, 5-0. 4 assists from McDavid, 2 goals from Draisaitl. Crazy.
McDavid has really been heating up too. I think I mentioned
that was the game that started 4 assists, dude. 4 assists
Right.
that game. So
if you looked at the stats, he was like 80th in the league in points or something. And of course, he missed some time and he was off to a slow start. But since he's been back, I think he vaulted all the way up to like number 13 or something. I'm going to check it here, but I want to say he's already close to the top 10 in points. And it certainly didn't take long. It's pretty impressive. Let me see
if they get to 10, if they get to 10 wins in a row, I'm going to buy myself an Oilers hat. You heard it here. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm going to buy an Oilers hat if they win 10 straight.
I like it. You heard it here it here first, folks. You got to hold Dan to that. He's buying
an Oilers hat.
Let me see.
They got to win 6 more.
I was wrong. So now he's moved up even a spot. He's only played 20 games compared to everyone else has played. Well, I take it back. So McDavid has played 20 games. Most of the guys above him have played 25, 26 or so. And he has, 29 points. So more than a point per game pace as he usually is. There's one guy who's 2 spots ahead of him who has 1 more point than him in 3 less games, actually. And that's my boy, Jack Hughes, 17 games played, 30 points. So he's on an even better pace. And that just speaks to those 2 guys and how they look like. I mean, Connor McDavid, we know, has been atop the league for a long time, but I'm super impressed with Jack. He missed, I think it was 5, 6, 7 games, whatever it was, and we sorely missed him. But he would probably be right up there, leading the league in points, up there with Kucherov, Pasternak, and those guys who are having great seasons as well.
Yeah, just real quick to stay on McDavid. Since I've seen him play, it's been 4 straight wins, right? So 4 assists, 4 points, 5 points, 3 points, and 1 point in 4 games. Isn't that ridiculous?
It is ridiculous. That's exactly what I see with Jack.
13 points in 4 goals
guys
in 4 games.
Minimum 3 points a night. It's crazy. Like the league hasn't seen that. Fans of the sport, if you're new to the game or you've been watching for 10, 20 years and you don't remember the mid to late 80s when goal scoring was at its peak, and you had guys like Gretzky and Bossy and Yager, Lemieux, Yzerman. Some of these guys were putting up 100, 150 point seasons, and they were on those wicked paces of scoring 3 and 4 points a night. It wasn't like that in the late 90s, the early 2000s, but it's kind of come back, and it's fun to see. It's fun to watch some of these records be broken.
Yeah, it is.
David's on a heck of a pace. I'll tell you, speaking of records, I'm starting to wonder a little bit about Ovechkin and if we're going to see him break the goals record before he calls it a career. He started off pretty slow. I'm trying to see where he is at in goals now this season. I know he's not up there with the leaders like he normally is. I'm trying to see what he has.
I'll pull it up real quick. Hold on. I got it right here.
For some reason, it doesn't even show him. I don't know why.
So Ovechkin's got 14 points. He's got 5 goals and 9 assists in 22 games.
5 goals. Wow. I mean,
yeah.
That's not the Ovechkin we've seen the last several years. In fact, if you look at his stats as a whole, I think the guy's only scored fewer than 30 goals in a season once in his career, something crazy like that. Might have even been his rookie year. I don't know, but I think it's in jeopardy now. It looked like last year, it looked like it was almost a shoo-in because he was still on his normal pace of scoring 30, 40 goals. So you just assumed he was going to get 30 this year.
So the only time that he scored under 30 goals was 2020, 2021. He only played in 45 games. Is that the COVID year? He only had 24 goals. So that's the only time that he's had under 30. Isn't that
crazy? Is that? I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. It's
ridiculous.
Even if he doesn't break the record, I think he's certainly the best, purest goal scorer the game's seen in the last 30 years. Really after Gretzky. And I think the argument can be made that he might even be a better goal scorer than Gretzky, given the parity in the league now, the competition. There's more teams. The goalies are better now. They're bigger. The equipment is larger. You could easily make the argument it's a lot harder to score goals nowadays than it was, like I mentioned, back in the 80s when it was sort of the wild, wild west and goal scoring. All you got to do is look at some of those old highlights. The goalies were wearing nothing for equipment. the half of Gretzky's goals, I feel like were wraparounds or, the puck is sliding on the ice. It wasn't these magnificent one-timers, top shelf goals that we see nowadays. So I think the argument can be made that regardless of what happens, Ovechkin's the best pure goal scorer. But frankly, I hope he gets it. I think
I do too.
Ovechkin's one of those players who, to me, he's admirable. You never heard the guy get in trouble like some stars, tend to do. Never said a bad word about his team. I was really happy when he got his cup with the Caps a couple of years ago, but
yeah, me too.
I would like to see him chase down Gretzky and get the record, because Gretzky's points record is never going to be broken. No one else has even gotten 2,000 points, let alone 2,800. But the goals record is within reach, and I would like to see him get it. So I think maybe he probably plays next year. Whether he plays beyond that till 40, 41, I don't know, but I hope he gets it.
Cool stat. His next point's going to give him 1,500 for his career, so that's kind of cool.
I did see that. I want to say he's going to be the 16th player in
which
history
is pretty cool.
to get that mark, and I think he's the 12th fastest or something like that. Crosby, actually, it's funny how those guys have such similar stat lines. They've been just like neck and neck throughout their careers, always battling, which is awesome. But Crosby just reached that mark. I want to say a couple weeks back. I think it was this year. And Crosby's interesting. You got to hand it to him. He doesn't have the goals that Ovechkin does. I think he's over 500. He's not 700 like Ovechkin, but Crosby has played in a number of less games, significant fewer games.
He was out. Remember, wasn't he out like a year and a half with concussions or something?
Yeah, exactly. Concussions, it looked like. And if you're a Penguins fan, there was a time, I don't know how it couldn't be in the back of your mind, but when your star franchise player in Crosby is dealing with those chronic injuries, I know it had to bring back visions of what Mario Lemieux dealt with. I think he is the best player that the sport's seen. No disrespect to Gretzky. No one's going to touch his records. But if you look at what Lemieux had to battle through, the guy had chronic back injuries his whole career. He had cancer, and he fought through those. He didn't even play 1,000 games, is what's amazing. I mean, think about that. Nowadays, guys, to their credit, I give players credit for their durability and their longevity. Guys are playing 1,500 games. Look at, what's his name? Just broke the all-time games record. What was his name? The guy who was on the Sharks for their number of years. Patrick Marleau. Patrick Marleau set the all-time games record because players are playing longer. And then you have a guy like Lemieux who didn't even play 1,000 games, but he still, had almost 700 goals. I wish he would have got there. A ton of assists, and I know that he would have been up there with Gretzky, in the 2,500 plus point category had he been able to play longer. But yeah, scary when a guy like Crosby deals with some of that same stuff. And thankfully he was able to come back, but him and Ovechkin for years have just had such a great battle. So cool to see those two to duke it out.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Anything else in hockey you want to touch on?
No, we're over an hour 30 now. We still got to get our picks. If you got any quick remarks on the NBA, I didn't see anything too noteworthy that I really wanted to mention. Just obviously they're still doing that in-game in-season tournament. I heard a few things about that. That goes on through this month and then it ends, I think. Is that right?
Well, yeah, right now there's the quarterfinals and the Bucks just beat the Knicks. And then there's a game tonight with the Suns and the Lakers. So quarterfinals are going on right now. And then Thursday are semifinals. And then I guess finals will be over the weekend. So hopefully it'll be over and done with. Stupid shit.
Yeah, I agree.
I
kind of can't wait till it's over. And then
we never really understood it. We tried to, but it didn't make any sense. So I don't know.
There was a coach. I can't remember who it was. I need to take better notes, but there was somebody I heard in passing that was commenting on it. It was an actual coach of an NBA team. I didn't catch who it was, but even he didn't have anything positive to say about it. So some reporter asked him, and he was just like, "Yeah, well, we're going to play the games regardless." So
yeah, I remember that. I don't know who it was, but I remember that. Yeah.
Hang on, sorry. My jaw's about to drop, so I didn't catch this. But you tell me if this is a mistake or not. I'm looking at the NBA standings, and the streak column, most teams are L1 or W1 for win 1, win 2.
Oh no, 17 for Detroit. Yeah,
L17 for Detroit.
So,
wait a minute, they are 2-18, 2 wins, 18 losses, and they've lost 17.
I was
going to
say they started 2-1. They started 2-1. Yeah.
Oh my God!
Isn't
Has
that wild?
the coach been fired yet?
No, they got a brand new coach. I don't know what they're doing. They got a young team. I don't know what they're doing, man.
No. What's the record for consecutive losses?
Look at the Spurs are on a 14-game losing streak.
Oh my! Wait, really? Oh
Yeah.
wow!
Yeah, that's wild stuff, man.
That's pretty amazing that there's 2 double-digit losing streaks. Yeah. I mean, geez, that's just brutal. We're gonna have to look it up. We'll come back. That's a good talking point for next week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look up some stats and see. I gotta imagine. I mean, I know back in the day there was, in all sports and hockey, there was some pitiful teams, but losing 20 plus in a row. I want to say in hockey, I defer to hockey because that's the sport I know best. And I want to say in the NHL, the longest winning streak ever, I think, is 17 games. And if you go to baseball, it was the whole Moneyball thing when the A's were close to
21.
Yeah, I think they tied it or were close, 21. So you got to imagine the Pistons got to be getting close to whatever the record is for losses. It can't be much more than 25. I don't even think it could be close to 30. Like, that's an insane amount. That's a quarter of the season they've lost almost consecutively. That's just that's
crazy.
Awesome. Yeah.
But a little thing on basketball, I always say every single week, look who's number 2 in both conferences. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say, my friend.
Yep. T-Wolves and Celtics. I'm not getting off that Celtics train. I
number
called
2.
that.
Number 2, sir.
Oh, 2. The Magic. Yeah.
And in the other one?
They're only a game behind the Celtics, actually. Wow.
And in the Western?
Yep.
Thunder.
Yeah. You're spot on right now with both of them.
Telling you. One other thing I wanted to reach out and change subject. I was speaking with my dad earlier. He wanted me to throw in a little MLB winter meetings. I don't know if you followed that yet, but they are going on right now. Shohei Ohtani this week. I know it's off season, but Shohei Ohtani this week said he's planning on doing his destination this week, letting everybody know where he's going to play. So that should be pretty interesting. And the Yankees have been going back and forth with prospects. I'm trying to get Juan Soto, which I mentioned that we should probably get him, but apparently the Padres are asking for 7 players and prospects, which I would say hell no to that as well. Yeah. And there was a trade tonight.
Sorry to interrupt. Isn't Soto a free agent the year after next?
Yeah, that's why it's stupid.
Yeah,
but he is only 25 years old, so he is very young, but he's going to be asking for a lot of money. But there was a trade tonight with the Red Sox and the Yankees. The Yankees got Alex Verdugo from the Red Sox, and the Yankees traded some minor league pitchers, big Greg Windsor. I don't know if you remember him, but that was the major guy. But
isn't that blasphemy to trade not only within your own division, but your arch rival?
Yeah, I think it's a stupid trade. That guy's a punk too.
For years, there was maybe it was ever. It was definitely a long span where the Devils had never made a trade with the Rangers at all, and just because they're just rivals. You know, the GMs don't do business with one another, and I never thought I'd see the day when the Yanks and the Sox are swapping players. But how do you feel about it? You think it was?
I don't like it. Dude's a punk. He's an idiot. I don't like Verdugo, so I don't know why they're doing that.
Tell me how you really feel.
I mean, I could use some explicitives, but we're trying to keep this PG.
Right.
Yep. The dude's a punk, so I don't know. Right. But I do got some live stats that a friend of the show just texted me, Jeff Creason, who we're trying to get on next week. He told me that the most consecutive losses are 28 by the 76ers in 2014 to 2016, and the Cavaliers 26. The Sixers also have 26, but the most losses are 28 in a row, and then the most consecutive losses are the Clippers also. So he sent me 2 different ones. I'm going to go with the other one. So the Sixers are 28, 15, 14 to 16. So there's an answer.
10, 11 games out from that. We thank you for that, Jeffrey Creason. Hit us up on the book with that. Post that stuff so we can see it. We like that. We like that interaction. Don't just send
And
it to
then-
Dan. You got to send it to me too, so I can see it. So post it on the book, or hit us on
Well,
Twitter, X, whatever it is.
Or just tell us about it next week when I want you to get you on the show. So there's a little bit of pressure.
That
on you.
too. We're looking for you. We'd love to have you.
Yep. So,
Shout out
but
to
yeah, I just
Jeffrey.
wanted to mention the winter meetings and then my basketball stuff. But I think we can go on to our picks if you're ready.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I did a little bit of homework before we get into them. Recap what we did last week. I have them here, and I got ahead of myself. I was looking at yours, and I thought you went winless, but you didn't. we both were really, really close. Your picks last week, you had Vegas knows what they're doing, man. You had your lock was Detroit.
Yeah.
Giving 4, and they won by 5. So
Yep.
you got that one, and you're upset. Nobody really saw the blowout coming, I don't think, but you had Philly getting 3, and they lost by whatever it was, 1 million. So you did not get that. So you were 1-1 on the week, and that puts you at an even 10-10 on the season. My lock of the week was Indy -1. I want to say they won. Yeah, they won by 3. So I got that. And I had Denver upsetting. I had them getting 3.5, and they lost by 5. So I just missed out on that one. So we both go 1-1 last week. We are both still deadlocked. We sit at 10-10, and we're coming down on the home stretch. We talked about it. We do 2 picks a week. And for there to be some movement, one of us has got to go 0-2, or one of us has got to go 2-0 to really gain or lose some ground. So I like that we're even. I like that there's one of us is not getting demolished. If it was me on the losing end, I'd feel really bad. So I like that we're pretty even. I think I went first last week and made my picks. I don't remember. I got to circle the picks as well, just the way I do with the beer.
I think you did.
I'll give you the honors. So you tell me what you like.
All right. So I'm scrolling here.
Tough games
There
this
are
week.
some real tough games. This one's a little weird. I don't know if it's too good to be true. Lions and Bears. Lions only -3. You think that's too good to be true? Like, what the freak is that all about?
Well, this is why it kind of matters who goes first, because I was eyeing that. I'm right there with you.
I mean, I'm gonna go Lions -3 as my lock. I mean, that's a no-brainer,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, they look good. They looked good this past week. I will say the Bears do look a lot different with Fields in the lineup. I've asked some Bears fan friends of mine. Shout out to Eric Heatherly, Don Shoup, Felipe Cortez. A couple of those guys are all Bears fans. They all seem to have a different opinion when it comes to Fields. I know my boy Don. He does not want Fields back. He thinks he's going to be gone. I talked to Eric. He thinks that Fields is probably going to stick around and deserves a shot. I don't know what to make of them, but that's the only reason I can think the line is as close as it is. Plus, the Bears are home. We always talk about how that's an obligatory 3 points right there just for being home. So maybe that's what it is too. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I got 2 in here. I really don't want to touch this first one, so I'm not even going to mention it because.
Come on, reach.
No, I'm not going to do it. Not even going to think about it. But I'm going to go with my upset as the Bengals +1
Ooh, okay.
at home.
Since
I was going to touch the stupid ass Jaguars, but they're going to screw me up, so I'm not even going to deal with them. I was thinking about taking them +3, but they're idiots and they're going to screw up, so I'm not dealing with that.
Well, and it all depends on what happens with Lawrence. If Lawrence isn't in this week, then I don't think you can touch that game at all. But if he is in, and if he's healthy,
and if Joe Flacco's going to be quarterbacking for the Browns again, I mean, he can't be.
Yeah,
but I don't want to mess with that.
Flacco for being, I can't believe the guy's still in the league. He's got to be 40, right, or something close
like
to
that.
it.
Close to it, yeah.
He's been in the league a long time, but he looked like at least he could be a game manager for them. So you left me with some work to do now because the lock was a tough one. There's just a lot of parity now. We talked about it earlier in the show. There's a lot of interesting stories, and some of these matchups are tough. I feel for people who are still in a survivor or suicide pool. There's one that you and I do, and it's down to the final 2. but there's not easy games to pick, and that's just picking straight up winners. We're picking locks with the spreads, which is even tougher.
Yep.
I can't do the Falcons and Bucks. I have to stay away from divisional games. I don't know if I can even do Saints Panthers. That might be something I have to lean towards. It's only 4.5. The Panthers don't look good, and the Saints, they need a win. They're not leading the division anymore. The Falcons took that over. I don't even feel good about Houston and the Jets -5. If Houston was home, I'd feel better, because this hurts me as a CJ Stroud fantasy owner. I believe Tank Dell is out now. Is that right?
Yeah, he broke his leg. He's out for the year. Broke his leg.
Yeah, so that's a huge blow.
So the Jets. Who the hell's going to quarterback for the Jets? I would touch that all day long.
That's right. Oh,
come on, man.
Oof.
You got to do a Randy Moss. Come on, man.
All right, come on, man. I'm doing it. Houston, you're right. I'm glad you. Thanks, you helped me. Thank you for that, Danny boy. Love you.
-5.5.
-5 because of exactly that.
You want 5.5
for the Jets? What's that?
I got 5.5 on ESPN.
I'll take the half point. That'll.
Yes, you will. Yes, sir.
I see 5. So, all right, that's my lock. Houston -5.5, and then an upset. Oh man.
Yeah, upsets are tough, man.
Yeah, they are. I mean, we get the points. So if the team
Flacco is 38 years old. Jake Reed told us on live comments, 38 years
38.
old.
Wow, I would have thought he was 39, 40, but he's still up there. That's crazy. Man. All right. So I don't know if you caught this one. Again, my motto is stay away from divisional games. The Eagles are getting 3.5 from Dallas.
I saw that.
Now, they are on the road. Part of me thinks the Eagles are going to they're going to want to win. We talked about if they don't,
they're tied.
Is this their first meeting? Do they still meet?
No,
again?
the Eagles beat them like 4 weeks ago in Philadelphia.
Okay. So I wonder what the tiebreaker would be.
Divisional record.
Division or conference record?
Divisional record and then conference record.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So, So technically, Philly could still afford to lose this game. Dallas is scary at home. They are scary at home. And what their offense is doing, Prescott and Lamb, the last 4 or 5 weeks have just been on a tear. I can't touch that game. There's 2 Monday night games this week. Do you know why?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Why.
I don't know either. I don't know why. I guess they want to do something different later in the year. Gain some.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier, sports is a business, my man. I guess they want to gain some eyes.
Yeah. I can't even. I mean, part of me, it's just such a gaudy number. I almost want to take Tennessee getting 13.5. I mean, but Miami's home. We've talked about this. Tennessee is one of those teams I just don't think is very good. The Giants getting 6.5 at home against the Packers. Don't do it to me, Giants. Oh.
The Vito Nation, bro. The Vito Nation.
The Giants are coming off a bye. They should be well rested. They should be healthy. And as good as the Packers have looked, and I said I didn't want to take anything away from Jordan Love, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go DeVito. I'm going to go the +6. I got +6.5. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me the G-Men for my
upset.
+6.5.
Italian. You know this one from the Italian? Bapambuia.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
You know it well.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. So there are our picks. We've got a couple of weeks left. You and I are deadlocked 10-10. So it's I don't know what I like more, the beer reviews or our picks or just our conversation. It's all pretty good.
I think it's all possible. That's all great. That's what I would say.
Look at us again, almost up on the 2-hour mark. That seems to be our new thing. A ton of content. Hopefully we fulfilled our goal of delivering some entertaining, informational content. We always thank everybody for listening. We thank guys like Jeffrey Creason for listening and even collaborating with us. We hope to bring people on the show. So, Jeff, open invitation to you next week. A lot of people we want to bring on and keep the conversation moving. But
be a new aspect. We can get some UFC, some jiu-jitsu. We can get a different aspect of sports.
I'm down to talk UFC. We have not really broached that subject yet.
Big fight coming in 2 weeks too.
Yeah,
Covington and Edwards. It's going to be a great fight.
let's mix it in. I'll have some thoughts. My stepson Brian does jujitsu, and he tells me a lot about it. He's big into it, so I can get some reaction from him too. But we'll work it into the conversation.
Hey, well, there's only one reason why it wouldn't happen. I mean, yeah,
That's right.
No pressure, but you know what it is.
No pressure. All right, Danny boy, any closing remarks for the people?
That's it, my man. Great show,
Awesome.
Great times, and we'll do it again in a week.
We will be back again next week. This has been the Overtime Sports Show, episode 11 in the books. Hope everybody has a fantastic evening. See you all next Tuesday. Peace out.
Everybody come see the greatest show. Gather up all juggalos and roll. Everybody come see the greatest show. Gather up all juggalos and roll. Everybody come see the greatest show. Gather up all juggalos and roll. Everybody come see the greatest show. Everybody come, everybody come, everybody.